Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. First of all, I want to thank all of you. Without you, the channel wouldn't be possible, and I've received tremendous support from you. I'm really glad because I'm here to share with you a few tips and tricks that will make our life in Baldur's Gate easier. Let's get to it. Let's start by talking about combat. Whenever you can, start by attacking by surprise. How do you get this? Well, whenever you approach the enemy without being seen. What will you achieve with this? Obviously, surprise them, and they will be stunned, so they won't be able to move during the first round, which is really important. That's why, among other things, the rogue is a quite chosen class. So let's continue with brawls and combat. Whenever you can, try to attack from the highest point and making use of the advantage of height. I used to associate this tactic a little more with shooters and action games, for example, but here it also gives you direct benefits for the attack. Also, it's worth mentioning that it goes both ways. If your enemy has the higher ground, you'll probably take a lot more damage, so remember that in Baldur's Gate 3, positioning is quite important. Also, in talking about heights, keep in mind the Feather Fall spell. It will allow us and our team to fall from great distances without taking any damage, which is very useful. If you pushed an enemy and you want to go down and fight, you won't get hurt. It's also very important if you want to take shortcuts, dodge some enemies, or access hidden areas. And talking of heights, climbing, descending, and anything else that is not normal, boring walk, we can make use of boxes, and other containers can be used to access areas that you wouldn't reach normally. You can stack them. It's true that they won't be placed in any way you put them. They have a little trick. You have to turn them. Try a little until you place them. See that they fix and that you can climb them. You can carry them in the inventory of one of your characters and take them out when you see that you need them. You can also use them as barriers to block enemies' path during combat. Block them here, shoot at them, and fry them from a distance. Well, each one can be as creative as you want. Since we're talking about fighting, it's advisable to inspect enemies before facing them. Why? Well, because hitting them directly might result in a failed combat, and we don't want that, right? If you inspect them, you may discover a weakness, a vulnerability that we can take advantage of. To end the combat topic, although I know many of you are against it, there's the option to save the game before an important battle or opening a chest, a dialogue, any interaction another way. I don't know. There's always the option to save the game in case it goes wrong and then load it again until it goes well. Many people are against it because obviously this makes things much easier. But well, you can play a game this way so the gameplay goes very smoothly, and then play the next one and it's chaos and it's whatever God wants, not that we depend on luck. I don't know, the option is there and each person can use it as they want. Use consumables. I'm referring to potions, scrolls, and even throwable items like the one we talked about before, pushing enemies. Anything that gives you a slight advantage is good. If consumables are there, it's because they're useful. So let's use them. In the following tips, we'll see that there are many ways to earn money in this game. So if we carry them out, we'll have plenty of cash to go to the vendors and fill up on potions, so we don't feel bad about using them. Now, obviously, you'll want to see how many potions you have. Well, if you're playing on PC, pressing the tab key will give you access to see the inventory of your whole group. Also, speaking of keys, if you press Alt, it will highlight all the objects around you. Very important for the tips we'll see next, because they can go unnoticed. You can remap these two keys to any other you find more comfortable. And now, we'll talk more specifically about that looting. That loot we mentioned before. Loot everything you see, trash, whatever it may be, boxes, chests, coffins, rotting corpses, anything. Also, if you hover the mouse over it and you see a golden chest, it means you haven't checked it yet. So, run over there, you can find potions, resources, gold, and even weapons and rare gear. You can also find notes that you should read, because sometimes they're hints to solve a puzzle that will come later, or even to find treasures. If you're a rogue or you have one in the group, it'll be a bit easier since they have skills that help with this, as well as your abilities. If you chose a perception and have it quite high, it will be very useful to detect traps or hidden objects, and even these treasures we talked about earlier. In these cases, it's convenient to always carry a shovel in your inventory so you can dig them up, not just look at a treasure and stare at it. And as we've said that you have to loot everything, it's convenient that things you can only use at the camp, you send them there directly. How? Right-click and send to camp. It's that easy. Because in Baldur's Gate, like in many RPGs, stuff have their weight. Everything has its weight, and in the end, you'll end up overloaded, and you won't get anywhere. And what things can you send to the camp? If I see food and such and I want to use it at some point, you'll see that there's food you can't eat, but you can use it at the camp to rest, which is very important. Coming back to the inventory, you can combine objects to create others. This will be done from the inventory menu, clicking on the object and selecting the combine option. You have to be alert because sometimes you loot things that seem like they could be part of something different. A hilt of a sword or the edge, and you can combine them to reconstruct that object. And as we said before about the camp, resting in the camp, let's go a little deeper as it is the next tip. Rest often in your camp, especially before important events. This may seem like a bit of a waste of time in the game, but it will fully restore your health bar and also your action and spell bars. It's also precious time you can use to have conversations with your team members. If you see exclamation mark above someone's head, it means they want to talk to you. This is important because some of these interactions can change the course of your game. To rest in the camp, you need a series of resources that you'll already have by now because obviously, you've looted everything. And now let's talk about money. Well, you have to say that to get it, you have to keep vendors in mind. They'll be crucial parts, especially at the beginning of the game. You may have ended up killing one intentionally or unintentionally, by accident or for whatever reason. I don't judge. But they're a very important source of gold since they buy goods. When they run out of money, they won't be able to buy anything more. But this resets, and they get money again with every level and every long rest you do in your camp. A strategy we could use is to collect all the equipment worth more than 10 gold and send it to the camp. Leave it there. When we see a vendor, we take advantage to sell everything. How? We stand next to the vendor and teleport to the camp, pick up everything we need, and then click Leave Camp, and we'll be next to the vendor to sell everything. It has to be said that if for some reason, hopefully not, this vendor ends up dying for some strange reason just after spending all their money buying our items, these items will be lootable again from their corpse. Lastly, to start wrapping up, there's something that sometimes could go unnoticed because we're moving quickly with all the things. If you're inspecting things and you see the tooltip, you'll notice that sometimes AET appears. So if you press it, you can delve into what the other descriptions mean. This is really good for you to better understand the game. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and hitting the bell. Comment down below if you'd like to share your thoughts about this wonderful game or if you'd like to see any other related content on the channel. And thanks for watching.